Start now. Okay. So let me just open my notes. Um, okay. So my name is Zinia Rasool. I did my MPhil in modern South Asian studies from the University of Cambridge. My dissertation was on Pashtun identity. So the racialization of Pashtun identity and the Pakistan state, right? And I'll be talking more about that. So this study circle is basically on my dissertation. So apologies, I might ramble on too much, and I might get into a bit too much detail. It's not too much unnecessary detail. I think it is necessary detail to really understand कि पश्तून आइडेंटिटी को कंस्ट्रक्ट किस तरह गया था और वो बाद में उसकी कंटिन्यूएशन किस तरह हुई थी पाकिस्तान द पोस्ट कॉलोनियल पाकिस्तान स्टेट के अंदर स्टार्टिंग ऑफ आई जस्ट वांट टू रियली अपोलोजाइज सबसे पहले कि मैंने जब पहला ये स्टडी सर्कल इस्लामाबाद में भी किया था मैंने सबको कहा था कि मैं काफ़ी शर्मिंदा हूँ इस बात पे कि मेरी उर्दू हालांकि ठीक है मैं बोल सकती हूँ लेकिन मेरी वोकैबलरी इतनी अच्छी नहीं है तो जो एकेडमिक टर्म्स हैं मैं मुझे उसके उर्दू वर्ड्स नहीं आते तो आई थिंक आई बी स्टिकिंग टू इंग्लिश आई बी स्विचिंग बिटवीन बोथ लैंग्वेजेस to make sure that there's not a lot of academic jargon कि इतने मैं कोई लफ्ज़ ना इस्तेमाल करूं जो कि लोगों को समझ ना आ सके पहली बात दूसरी बात I forgot अस्सलाम वालेकुम everyone Salomina and hi to all those who speak English so starting off, my dissertation was basically on, like I said, it was on knowledge production of the Pashtun identity. So I basically looked at colonial India, right? And I looked at how colonial officials constructed this whole idea of who a Pashtun was and came up with definitions कि पश्तून जो है वो किस तरह का एक इंसान है किस तरह की एक आइडेंटिटी है और ये इसलिए नहीं किया गया था क्योंकि उनको वैसे कोई दिलचस्पी थी हमारे अंदर knowledge was primarily used by states to then base their policy making on that knowledge production, right? So this knowledge was constructed for the sake of policy making, and this is really important to understand क्योंकि उससे हमें ये फिर वाजे होता है कि नॉलेज फिर जिस तरह की डायरेक्शन भी लेती थी it was according to the kind of policies that these people wanted to implement on us, right? So the kind of relations or alliances or maybe even dominance they wanted on us. So knowledge basically uske accordingly dekhi jati thi. So this was so mostly the public sphere was looked at. They didn't really care about our culture, about culture or the private sphere where there were a lot of actors who were also contributing to identity making, right? So for example, women do not are completely invisible in colonial texts on Pashtun identity, right? Because colonial officials were not interested in what women represented more than and they were more interested in how men would retaliate to their rule, right? And I'll elaborate more on that a little bit. But I basically looked at how this was then translated into policy making. And policy making में जब वो आ गई ये एक आइडेंटिटी की डेफिनेशन तो पॉलिसी मेकिंग के अंदर वो सिर्फ इंस्टीट्यूशनलाइज नहीं हुई लेकिन एट द सेम टाइम वो सीमेंट भी हो गई सो बेसिकली identity was fixed in time then and it couldn't be and it wasn't dynamic anymore in terms of how people started thinking about it ये जो सारा काम किया गया था ये जो डॉक्यूमेंट्स थे ये जो न्यूज़पेपर्स थे ये जो किताबें लिखी गई थी पश्तून्स के ऊपर इसके ऊपर बाद में फिर एकेडमिक्स ने और भी ऑफिशियल्स ने बिल्डअप करना शुरू कर दिया था सो the problem with that was that these texts were because there were such little texts on Pashtun identity that these texts that were available out there, right, and these documents that were exchanged between these officials, they were seen as absolute facts, right? They were seen as the word of God. It was seen as like proper factual work on who the Pashtun is. Now the problem with that is कि इस पूरे narrative के अंदर what was essentially missing was of the Pashtun narrative of what they consider themselves, right? So the Pashtun counter narrative to this narrative, and also the Pashtun narrative of self identity कि वो खुद अपने आप को किस तरह देखते थे, वो present नहीं था. That was completely missing from these texts, right? And that had a lot to do with power dynamics, that had a lot to do with power relations, that had a lot to do with access as well, right? To for example corridors of power जहाँ पे वो जाके पब्लिश कर सकते थे या अपनी आइडेंटिटी के ऊपर उनकी अपनी जो सोच थी उसको पॉपुलराइज कर सकते थे. And because these officials were in power, essentially they basically had the say on how the Pashtun would be seen and who the Pashtun truly was. Now that was me rambling. And then I basically looked at how this continued in terms of not just knowledge production. सिर्फ knowledge की continuity नहीं हुई पाकिस्तान state के अंदर, लेकिन because knowledge was so tied to administration and policy making and governmentality, so the mentality of the government, ये पाकिस्तान state के अंदर इन दोनों चीज़ों की साथ साथ continuity हुई. And I basically drew parallels between both regimes, right? And that basically brings into question how post-colonial how post-colonial Pakistan actually is, or whether it's still stuck in a very much in a colonial past, right? ठीक है, मैं कोशिश करूंगी उर्दू में जितना बोल सकूं. आई अपोलोजाइज. अच्छा, तो जो सबसे बड़ा एक जहाँ से ये एक स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट था कि पश्तून आइडेंटिटी को डिफाइन करने का, वो माउंट स्टुअर्ट एल्फिनस्टोन की किताब थी कॉल्ड एन अकाउंट ऑफ द किंगडम ऑफ काबुल. ठीक है, ये 1815 में छपी थी. एल्फिनस्टोन जो थे, ही वॉज बेसिकली लीडिंग अ डेलीगेशन, ब्रिटिश डेलीगेशन वो लीड कर रहे थे उस टाइम में 1808 में, जो कि अफगानिस्तान में रूलर थे शाह शुजा उनके पास. एल्फिनस्टोन जब आए, वो आए थे एज एन एलाई. एट दैट पॉइंट इन टाइम the British weren't looking to expand. They were looking to forge alliances and to form alliances with these people, right? So that naturally meant कि वो लोग एक equality का relationship, एक companionship का relationship, एक इकट्ठे काम करने का relationship forge करना चाह रहे थे. And because of that, because of how the British was viewing these people in terms of policy making, उनकी जो परसेप्शन भी थी पश्तून्स की, वो बहुत डिफरेंट थी. वो जिन वर्ड्स में वो थी, दोज वर्ड्स वर वेरी काइंड. दे वर सीन एज इक्वल्स, they were seen as potential allies, they were seen as deserving allies as well, right? And they looked very favorably upon them at that time when Elphinstone was in अफगानिस्तान. लेकिन आहिस्ता आहिस्ता जब एक रशियन थ्रेट आ गया, उसके साथ ब्रिटिश की ऑब्वियसली पॉलिसीज भी बदलने लग गई, एंड for the region, right? And how they wanted the region for themselves. And strategically, वो जो एक borderland region था, उसकी क्या significance थी for British officials, that basically also had an impact on the relations of these on the relations between the British and Afghanistan and the Pashtuns. And also at the same time it had an impact on knowledge production. तो तब उन्होंने अलेक्जेंडर बर्न्स को भेजा था, जिन्होंने जिनका मेन बेसिकली यही परसेप्शन थी कि they're people who are resisting control. And because वो उस पोजिशनैलिटी से देख रहे थे, वो उस पोजिशन पे खड़े होके देख रहे थे, and these were essentially military officials, वो उस पोजिशन में बैठ के इनको देख रहे थे, उनकी परसेप्शन भी उसी से इम्पैक्ट हो रही थी. सो बिकॉज द पश्तून्स वर रेजिस्टिंग कंट्रोल एंड दे वर रेजिस्टिंग ब्रिटिश एक्सपेंशनिस्ट पॉलिसीज, द ब्रिटिश स्टार्टेड राइटिंग डाउन Pashtuns as a race with martial attributes. And this is something that a lot of Pashtuns have internalized as well. कि oh, we're a martial race, you know, where हमें बंदूकें बहुत अच्छी चलानी आती हैं, हमें बहुत शौक है इन चीज़ों का. लेकिन ये चीज़ें आहिस्ता आहिस्ता internalize भी हो गई थी. और And because these, like I said previously as well, because all they were interested in was essentially ke, in terms of alliances, या in terms of British control or expansion, in लोगों का किस तरह का response है. That's the only aspect of Pashtun identity that they were interested in. Now the problem with that was that was noted down in narratives and discourse on Pashtuns as if that's the only thing that the Pashtuns can do, and that's the only thing that the Pashtuns can be. So we never really truly saw the other aspects of Pashtun identity, right? जिसमें private sphere में उनकी बहुत चीज़ें थी, उनके culture में और बहुत चीज़ें थी जो कि in official texts में कभी आई नहीं. ये पहली बात. आहिस्ता आहिस्ता वो टाइम जब ये रेजिस्टेंस होने लग गई ब्रिटिश एक्सपेंशनिस्ट पॉलिसीज की तरफ, तो पश्तून्स की जिस तरह एक डिस्कोर्स बन गया था वो essentially एक colonial vulnerability से निकल रहा था. So they were written off as barbarians, like I said. And because they were written off as barbarians, and because itni ek a colonial vulnerability thi, that led to the justification of unleashing a regime of terror on these people, right? So colonial vulnerability that fictionalized the barbarity of the Pashtuns, जो कि वो लोग अपनी तरफ से एक कंट्रोल को resist कर रहे थे, and it was a political act, right? It wasn't an act that was completely devoid of any political thought. British officers and military officers, because military officers were the ones taking care of the frontier region, right? They started, recording these events, and they started writing as well. And conquest of the pen was a very big thing back in the time, and still is. And this is something I'll talk about. But इन्होंने एक तो लोकल न्यूज़पेपर्स में और जो ब्रिटिश न्यूज़पेपर्स भी थे, सो बेसिकली न्यूज़पेपर्स बैक होम, they started justifying, why they had to have the kind of force that they were employing in that region, and the kind of torture they were unleashing on these people, because ye log the hi uncivilized, and that's the only thing that they deserve, and that's also the only thing that would control them and their barbaric essential nature. So by essential nature, I mean something that they're born with, something that's so ingrained in their identity कि उसके साथ डील करने का और कोई तरीका नहीं है. And that is what British discourse या British जो narratives थे किताबों के अंदर, that's what they did. They basically justified why violence was the only kind of response that आप पश्तून्स को basically दे सकते थे. उसके साथ साथ क्या हुआ कि जब इन्होंने इंस्टीट्यूशनलाइज कर ली ये चीज़ें, तो अच्छा एक और बात इससे ये भी होना शुरू हो गया कि बिकॉज ये मिलिट्री ऑफिसर्स जो थे दे वर बेसिकली seen as situated in the harsh frontier, right? They weren't like others जो कि Calcutta type जगहों में रह रहे थे, so other imperial power centers, वो लोग वहाँ पे नहीं थे. वो लोग एक ऐसे harsh frontier में थे जिसके लिए उन्हें resources भी ज़्यादा चाहिए थे, right? और उनको power भी ज़्यादा चाहिए थी, और उन्हें autonomy भी ज़्यादा चाहिए थी. The autonomy and the power to be able to do whatever they wanted to do in the frontier region, and also be given more resources. So there's also this analysis कि there's a possibility that they कि इन्होंने कुछ ज़्यादा ही inflate कर दिया था this idea of how barbaric the Pashtun could be ताकि उनको resources ज़्यादा मिल सकें. बिकॉज इन्होंने ये चीज़ें पश्तून कल्चर की, पश्तून वाली की इंस्टीट्यूशनलाइज कर दी थी. व्हाट दैट मेंट वाज कि इट वाज फिक्स्ड इन टाइम, एंड दिस इज समथिंग आई टॉक्ड अबाउट, राइट? कि पश्तून कल्चर को उन्होंने स्टैटिक कर दिया था. पश्तून कल्चर वाज नो लॉन्गर समथिंग दैट कुड बी लोकली नेगोशिएटेड between the people, right? That it wasn't something that could respond to changes in time, because culture is something that evolves with time, right? लेकिन because उसको codify कर दिया था, उसे institutionalize कर दिया था और compartmentalize कर दिया था, पश्तून्स जो कि बहुत डायनामिक थे, and they still are very dynamic. There isn't one Pashtun body. There are several tribes, there are several sub-tribes, there are several subcultures as well, and several religious identities as well, right? And across the world as well. But because they codified it, that basically meant it was static ho gaya, and it couldn't move, it couldn't respond to time, it was stuck Pashtun identity was then stuck in a zone of timelessness. And मैंने उस टाइम के जो अखबार देखे थे colonial अखबार वो काफ़ी इंटरेस्टिंग है. और अगर मैं आप लोगों के साथ स्क्रीन अपनी शेयर कर सकूं, यस जस्ट अ सेक, तो वो काफ़ी इंटरेस्टिंग हो जाएगा देखना कि अखबारों में किस तरह की बातें की गई थी पश्तून्स के बारे में एट द टाइम, और किस तरह की डिपिक्शन हुई थी लोगों की. सो ओके, सो दिस इज वन. एंड दिस बेसिकली आई डोंट नो अगर आप लोगों को हाँ नज़र आ रहा है आप लोगों को नीचे के जिस तरह की डिपिक्शन है कि यू नो बंदूकें पकड़ी हुई हैं. एंड दिस रियली मैटर्स बिकॉज ऑफ हाउ वी the way we visually imagine the Pashtun today is not very different from what we're being shown here. And apart from this, there is also another very interesting picture. Let's share the screen again. There you go. No. इस तरह की डिपिक्शन, बंदूकें मुंह कवर्ड हैं और prone to violence, prone to wars, prone to resistance, and ये among them world's most skillful warriors. मतलब ये आखिर कहाँ से ये statistics इन लोगों ने निकाली थी कि इस तरह की एक सोच बन गई थी कि there is nothing else that these people could possibly were they anything other than just being skillful warriors? Oh, wow, that really that's horrible that you guys can't see it. Chalo, I think technologically, like in terms of technology, I really failed badly. I thought it would be something super cool. But anyway, मतलब ये अखबार थे पुराने 1937 के थे, उससे कुछ पहले भी थे, जिसमें ये दिखाया जा रहा था कि पगड़ियाँ पहनी हुई हैं और AK-47 पकड़े हुए हैं और मुंह छुपाए हुए हैं और उसके ऊपर टाइटल है मोस्ट स्किलफुल वॉरियर्स और they're involved in feuds and they're involved in battle and it was a private battle and British वहाँ पे आके उनको civilize कर रहे हैं. तो इस तरह की images हम अभी तक देखते हैं कि पश्तून्स के साथ काफ़ी associate की जाती हैं, which is very obviously problematic. Anyway, moving on. I mean, there were the kinds of things that were being said about Pashtuns were also, there were a lot of animal metaphors that were used to describe the Pashtuns. Iske baad I'll quickly like round up this part, but it's actually one of the most interesting things that I came about. I went through newspapers जो कि 1819 से लेके 1948 तक 1950 तक थे और लोकल जो कॉलोनियल इंडिया के न्यूज़पेपर्स भी थे और जो ब्रिटिश न्यूज़पेपर्स भी थे. सो आई वेंट थ्रू देम, आर्काइव्स थे ये, एंड उसमें काफ़ी इंटरेस्टिंग बातें की गई थी. एनिमल मेटाफॉर्स यूज़ किए गए थे पश्तून्स के साथ. सो फॉर एग्जांपल जो एक मेजर जनरल साहब थे हमारे हर्बर्ट बेंजामिन, उन्होंने लिखा था कि द प्रॉब्लम विद दिस गार्डन ऑफ ईडन वाज दैट द सर्पेंट हैड एंटर्ड इट इन द फॉर्म ऑफ इट्स inhabitants. Nature has so smiled on Bannu that the stranger thinks it is a paradise, and when he turns to the people, wonders how much spirits of evil ever found admittance. Now, this is amazing because I mean, first of all, बन्नू को मतलब यहाँ पे गार्डन ऑफ ईडन कहा जा रहा है, ये तो काफ़ी अमेजिंग बात है. पता नहीं anyway, yeah, Bannu is pretty nice. I think it's culturally very rich. लेकिन ये कहना कि बन्नू as a geographic space अच्छी है, लेकिन ये जो serpents ने enter कर दिया है ना इस garden of Eden को, they have somehow made it hell. And somehow Pashtun presence in a certain area somehow taints that land and opens that land to violence and a policy that's extremely harsh, right? And this is something that we see in narratives today as well. कि Pashtun identity and the Pashtun self is tied to geography. It's tied to the landscape of the area. Pashtun volatility and Pashtun propensity towards violence, या उनके जो martial attributes हैं और militancy है, somehow that reflects in their landscape as well, right? And this is the kind of narrative that we see today as well. Churchill साहब जो थे उन्होंने तो सीधा सीधा कहा कि they're wild beasts, they're vermin, they've infested areas. Video is stuck. Chale, as long as you guys can hear me, my face is not that great anyway. So इस तरह की बातें की जा रही थी, then came the Khudai Khidmatkar movement. And this is very interesting. That even towards the Khudai Khidmatkar movement, although they challenged this idea of what the Pashtun could be, right? It was a non-violent movement. It was very organized. It was very politically charged and very politically sophisticated as well. They tried to, and they did wonderfully, try to redefine what the Pashtun could be. That a Pashtun could be a sophisticated political actor, that indigenous people could come out and be, I mean, I hate to use the word sophisticated, but they could be more than just these barbarians that these officials were talking about, right? लेकिन उनकी तरफ भी जो response British का आया था, there was a lot of propaganda कि नहीं ये तो जो पश्तून जो नॉन वायलेंस है देयर इज नो बिगर लाई देन दैट राइट एंड ये झूठ है इवन उसके बाद भी जो डॉक्यूमेंट्स आए थे ब्रिटिश ऑफिशियल्स के बीच में जो शेयर हुए थे या जो न्यूज़पेपर्स में इनके बारे में रिपोर्ट्स आई थी दे वर स्टिल समहाउ सेइंग कि नो दीज पीपल आर वायलेंट दे आर स्टिल क्रिमिनल एंड दे समहाउ स्टिल इमेजिन देम थ्रू दिस narrow tunnel of volatility, and although they were completely non-violent, but because itna cement ho gaya tha idea of Pashtun being nothing else than a militant, nothing else than being violent, right? That their existence, it was just there to perform these acts of violence, that they couldn't be anything else. At that time, there was a lot of emphasis on difference. I have two sets of notes. There was a lot of emphasis on difference, right? And jo bhi idea tha British ka of the word tribe, because the word tribe, the colonial understanding of the word tribe boiled down to primitivity, it boiled down to criminality, right? And this isn't just this isn't just towards the Pashtun, wasn't just because towards the Pashtuns, but ये और भी जो tribes थे उनकी तरफ भी था, जिन tribes को, जिन groups को इन्होंने फिर criminalize भी कर दिया था, इन्होंने ऐसे laws pass कर दिए थे, ऐसी policies pass कर दी थी जिसके अंदर इन्होंने कहा था कि ये जो कुछ ट्राइब्स हैं, ये जो कुछ लोग हैं, ये आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट द क्रिमिनल ट्राइब्स एक्ट, ये जो कुछ लोग हैं ये ना है ही इनहेरेंटली ट्राइबल एंड ये सॉरी क्रिमिनल, राइट? Apart from that, so this idea, this emphasis on difference then justified the FCR, so the Frontier Crimes Regulation. Now, the point of the FCR was to rule these people indirectly, right? And ruling them indirectly, as it's been sold to us by the state of Pakistan, and also was sold to us by British officials, was कि because they're so different, they deserve respect, और ये लोग अपने systems चलाएं. But ruling indirectly was basically another term for ruling on the cheap, right? It was very cheap to rule these people indirectly, to have these laws in place for them जो कि collectivize करते थे लोगों को. तो FCR basically was an alternative model of sovereignty. It was an alternative model of subjecthood and of citizenship. So these people were very much different, were treated very much different from other people in the subcontinent, right? And ये जो FCR था, इसने mark किया था relationship जो कि अब Pashtuns की होगी with the state. And it also allowed the state to exploit the legality of this relationship. जब इन्होंने ये कहा कि collective responsibility एक tribe की आ गई है कि अगर एक tribe में एक बंदे ने कोई crime commit किया है तो collectively आप एक tribe को punish कर सकते हो. This feeds into the idea that Pashtuns weren't seen as a dynamic group making dynamic decisions or having dynamic personalities. It was basically the product of saying, all Pashtuns are the same. All Pashtuns are prone to criminal behavior, to militancy and violence. So if one does something, you can punish all of them, right? It's kosher, it's fine, it's no big deal. Because चले वो आज इन्होंने नहीं किया इस कबीले ने तो ये शायद कल को कर दें, because they're just essentially criminals. That's the kind of narrative that was being built upon, right? So apart from that, उस time में policy of access आ गई थी. There was a policy of deliberate political and developmental regression. Although issue civility का था Pashtuns का, लेकिन it's amazing how nothing was done for education, nothing was done for health, nothing was done for otherwise developing the area. The only kind of development that took place was in terms of roads, forts, railways that were basically built to expand military control, right? To make these areas accessible for military deployment, because वो उस area का जो जो उसकी strategic importance थी, right, in the great game Russia के उसकी वजह से, and it basically formalized, FCR formalized the different nature of the region, right? It legalized the feeling of apartness of these people, कि ये different हैं. And it also then formalized the existence of this region as a marshland, right? कि यहाँ पे सिर्फ जंगें होंगी, यहाँ पे सिर्फ troop deployment होगी, and we still see that happening. So moving on, Pashtuns were seen as suspect bodies, right? They were seen as criminals, and this is something I've touched on. Khudai Khidmatgar movement, while challenged that, there was there was a lot of censorship and propaganda about them, around them. उनका जो journal था Pashtun, उसको ban कर दिया गया था. Authorities जो थी वो intercept करती थी उनकी information sheets और bulletins. और जब press act का ordinance pass हुआ था तो उसमें ये लिखा था कि जो सोबर और स्टेबल एलिमेंट्स हैं इंडिया में वो क्रिटिसाइज कर लें तो सही है, लेकिन जो लॉलेस मूवमेंट्स हैं ना वो नहीं कर सकती. तो जो लीगैलिटी या वो जो लेजिटिमेसी मुस्लिम लीग की सियासत को दी गई थी, वो खुदाई खिदमतगार मूवमेंट की जो ग्रास रूट्स पॉलिटिक्स थी, ये वाजंट ये एलिटिस्ट पॉलिटिक्स नहीं थी, वो लेजिटिमेसी उनको नहीं दी गई थी. तो जो ट्रोप्स थे फनाटिसिज्म के या मैडनेस के, वो एसोसिएट किए जा रहे थे. एंड एट द सेम टाइम ये भी प्रोपेगेंडा था कि जी ये तो मॉस्को लीनिंग मूवमेंट है, ये तो रेड शर्ट मूवमेंट है, एंड दे वर एसोसिएटेड विद रशिया, एंड दैट वाज आल्सो प्रोपेगेंडा, राइट? तो जब मुसलमानों के सामने प्रोपेगेंडा खड़ा करते थे तो कहते थे कि जी ये गांधी के साथ अलायंस करें तो ये तो हिंदू हैं. So that's how they would anger the Muslims and turn them against Khudai Khidmatgar. On the other hand, when they try to turn generally everyone against them, they'd say कि ये तो जी रशिया की तरफ से ये मूवमेंट आई है. और जब जो हिंदू के सामने प्रोपेगेंडा ये लोग रखते थे अगेंस्ट द खुदाई खिदमतगार, they'd say कि they're lying about being non-violent because गांधी की जो non-violent movement थी वो भी simultaneously चल रही थी. तो उनको ये प्रोपेगेंडा वो किया जा रहा था कि ये झूठ है, ये असल में non-violent नहीं है. Now moving on to the Pakistan state, right? And I want to quickly round this up ताकि हम सवाल पे ज़्यादा जाएं. This is more interactive than it is right now. But पाकिस्तान स्टेट में ये हुआ कि यही जो कलोनियल वल्नरेबिलिटी उस टाइम में देखी जा रही थी, वो पाकिस्तान स्टेट में भी आ गई, राइट? जो हमारे नेशनल बुर्जुआजी थे, जो हमारे उर्दू स्पीकिंग एलीट थी, इन्होंने स्टेट तो सेपरेट बना दिया एक इस्लाम के उस पे, लेकिन बाद में उनसे मैनेज नहीं हो पाया, राइट? देयर वर सो मेनी डिफरेंट आइडेंटिटीज दैट नाउ after making after unifying, whether or not they were unified in creating Pakistan is a separate debate altogether. लेकिन पाकिस्तान चले जब बन गया उसके बाद उन्होंने कहा कि अच्छा अब हमारा क्या? This Urdu speaking, this national bourgeoisie, right? These elites said कि नहीं जी हम सब एक हैं, आप लोग अपनी identity भूल जाएं and homogenize, we're all the same. And this is something that wasn't acceptable to these people for many reasons, and this is something that I'll conclude on, right? बादशाह खान की जो सियासत थी वो तब भी although he swore allegiance to the state of Pakistan, he said that what Pashtunistan meant to him now was that, and जो NWFP नाम था, जो कि अभी थोड़ी देर पहले तक भी Pakistan state was also resisting changing the name, right? NWFP, Northwest Frontier Province, whatever it is. I mean, that doesn't even mean anything, right? बट कि ये जो नाम है हमें भी वही नाम दे जिस तरह बलूचिस्तान है या सिंध है या पंजाब है, and they, while this were legions, but they were still viewed with a lot of suspicion, right? कयूम खान जो चीफ मिनिस्टर थे तब NWFP के, उन्होंने कहा कि give up politics on party lines for 5 years या फिर मुस्लिम लीग को ज्वाइन कर लो. They obviously resisted that. There was a lot of back and forth, but I mean, what happened then was the Babra massacre. And the Babra massacre was when they basically point blank shot these protesters who were completely nonviolent and massacred a lot of people. What Qayyum Khan had to say in response to that was that they were lucky that the police's ammunition ran out. Otherwise, not a single soul would have survived. So this just goes to show how the Pashtun body, उसके ऊपर सिर्फ वायलेंस सिर्फ फिजिकल नहीं वो की गई थी, लेकिन एट द सेम टाइम एक नॉलेज प्रोडक्शन की भी जो वायलेंस थी, जो कि उस नॉलेज प्रोडक्शन की वजह से निकलती थी, एक पश्तून बॉडी की जो वर्थ थी इन द स्टेट, राइट, वो उस नॉलेज की भी जो वायलेंस थी वो भी पश्तून बॉडी के ऊपर निकली जाती थी. एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव कंटिन्यूटी भी हमने देखी पाकिस्तान में. FCR अभी तक लगा हुआ था. अभी भी फाटा के मर्जर के बाद भी कितना फाटा मर्ज हो चुका है, दैट्स स्टिल अ क्वेश्चन. राइट नाउ फाटा डज नॉट, आई मीन एक्स फाटा डज नॉट हैव इंटरनेट. जहाँ पे डिजिटल लर्निंग की बात की जा रही है यूनिवर्सिटी स्टूडेंट्स के लिए, स्टूडेंट्स इन फाटा आर completely deprived of those educational opportunities. Homes are still being raided. Movement is still very much restricted, right? Or checkposts to wahan pe hain. So, but because military presence itni reh chuki thi in this area, and wo jo legacy thi of the frontier region being a marshland, और वो उसके बाद भी जो उसकी existence थी as a marshland, वो continued रही state में. That's why the military continued to hold a lot of importance in that region, right? Not just in terms of how they reported back, whether or not they reported, but how they reported back on the region, but also the kind of policies that continued to exist in the region had a lot to do with how this had a lot to do with this colonial legacy, right? The covert and implicit labeling of Pashtun identity and geography as a security issue has led to coercive policies, right, in the region, and legitimize ye ki jati hain through narratives of the volatility of Pashtuns and their land. और जहाँ पे एक counter narrative का absence है, और जहाँ पे communication का absence है, right, there's no communication coming from the other side के वहाँ पे क्या किया जा रहा है. और जब communication होती भी है indigenous movements के through, उसको completely वो किया रद्द कर दिया जाता है कि नहीं, ये तो जी propaganda है, ये तो foreign funded है. तो because there is no counter narrative, इस आइडिया, ये जो आइडिया है इस एरिया की वॉलेटिलिटी का या लेजिटिमेसी का इन पॉलिसीज का इस रीजन में, उसकी तरफ कोई रेजिस्टेंस, उसकी तरफ कोई काउंटर नैरेटिव बेसिकली नहीं कम्युनिकेट किया जा रहा, बिकॉज देयर इज नो वे टू कम्युनिकेट. However, that has changed, right? That has changed quite a lot with netizens, right? जो digital agency Twitter या social media पे आ रही है, उसकी वजह से ये काफ़ी बदल चुका है. But I think at the same time we need to realize कि not a lot of people have access to these mediums, and there's a lot of censorship around that as well, right? That we've seen. लेकिन ये जो बात है कि frontier as a site of anxiety allows कि moral indifference थोड़ा सा आ जाए कि खैर है, violence थोड़ा बहुत बन जाता है. And this is very interesting, and this is something like from a personal point of view, it's amazing how living in Punjab we used to my sister and I were discussing this कि we use whenever someone would ask us कि आप कहाँ से हैं, हम कहते थे कि जी हम इलाका गैर से हैं, ठीक है. And this is so interesting कि as Pashtuns ourselves we हमें नहीं था पता कि we would just say इलाका गैर, and we never really broke down the word to see कि oh my god, what are we saying, what are we saying, right, कि हम एक गैर इलाके से हैं, we're from the land of the other. But because this feeling of the other was so ingrained in us, and we also saw it on and we obviously picked up this word from newspapers and news channels as well, where this area was being described as the land of the other, and then that we also started describing ourselves that way, and we internalized it a lot that way. So this then led to, I mean, my whole thesis was that because of this continuity कि martial race theory हो गई, आगे जाके continue कर दिया गया इस बात को कि now it ties in with this whole idea of Pashtun identity being equal to Taliban identity, Talibanization being equal to Pashtun nationalism, right? That it somehow represents Pashtuns, and this is something that is also very prevalent. This narrative, and that's because of the legacy जो कि continue की गई है अभी तक, and जिस तरह cement कर दिया है इस martial race theory को कि पश्तून्स तो और कुछ हो ही नहीं सकते, या किसी और तरीके से exist ही नहीं कर सकते. But I think PTM is a corrective to that discourse. What they've achieved is because it's a grassroots movement, and it's completely non-violent, they've redefined what Pashtun nationalism truly is. Right? They've also owned and taken back Pashtun nationalism for themselves as being something other than Talibanization, right? एक communication का function तो उन्होंने किया जिसमें they started communicating कि वहाँ पे हो क्या रहा है, लेकिन redefine करने का function भी किया, and at the same time they also added to the discourse, right? While the state's reply is the same as it would be to स्टेट का रिप्लाई वही है जो colonial officials का था, जहाँ पे वहाँ किस्सा ख्वानी बाजार मैसेकर हुआ था, या बाद में पाकिस्तान में बाबरा मैसेकर हुआ था, अभी हमारा खड़कामर मैसेकर हुआ था, जिसमें नॉन वायलेंट एक गैदरिंग थी, उसी तरह उसको वायलेंस के साथ रिस्पॉन्ड किया गया. एंड जनरली भी इट्स बीइंग लेबल्ड एज एन engineered movement, protests उनके engineered हैं, there's a lot of censorship around it, a lot of propaganda around it, and the way that the state is dealing with it is in line with the kind of knowledge that was produced, right? Yeah, and they're also somehow trying to continue with the policies that the British had, or post-colonial जो initial जो पाकिस्तान के stages थे उसमें जो policies थी, but because times are very different, the same policies can't be implemented in the region. And I think the biggest problem with this is कि the state's requirement of Pakistani identity being homogenous, right? Whereas ये जो एक ये जो एक relationship है state का लोगों के साथ, it shouldn't be based on homogeneity, right? Social contract के अंदर आप various groups के साथ भी वो contract कर सकते हो without asking them to forego their identity, and also an identity that's rooted in history and that predates the creation of the country, right? And has its own heroes, own poets, own victories, whereas the way that the state has responded to this is, and the colonial and post-colonial both, that they've completely delegitimized the heroes of Pashtuns as traitors. There's been an imposition of criminal and militant criminal or militant elements जो हैं वो उनके साथ associate किए जाते हैं as symbolic of Pashtun cultural heroes, which there's a deficiency of referring to indigenous Pashtun history in textbooks, or in terms of, there are no honorary statues, public holidays, or even a mere mention on television of these heroes, or, जिस तरह बादशाह खान हो गए और बहुत ऐसे हीरोज हैं. एक जो एलीट हिस्ट्री है, जो एलीट्स की हिस्ट्री है, उर्दू एलीट्स की हिस्ट्री या नेशनल बूर्जवाजी की हिस्ट्री, वो इम्पोज की जा रही है लोगों के ऊपर, एंड ऑब्वियसली देयर इज गोइंग टू बी अ लॉट ऑफ रिटेलिएशन टू दिस. the lack of interest of the state to truly alter the lack of civility जो कि associate किया जाता है with the people of the frontier is evident through the absence of judicial and legislative structures, right? As well as the absence of schools, of colleges, of hospitals, and other basic structures existing in the rest of the country. So, if civility is such a big problem, why is there the state is not really doing anything to bring light and stability to this region, right? So um, while post-colonial state and the colonial state both justified this, through a policy of non-interference in light of Pashtun resistance to control, um, they've what they've actually done is they've kept them away from a universally recognized judicial system. And in the absence of Pashtun indigenous voices, state का narrative बहुत difficult हो गया लोगों के लिए, बहुत मुश्किल हो गया challenge करने के लिए. However, like I said, the PTM has definitely changed this, and also changed the idea of redefined the idea of Pashtuns being unresponsive to changes around them with a thirst for violence, right? And so the remaking of the Pashtun self through the narrative of the subaltern, of from the grassroots, becomes worrying for a state that has used Pashtun identity, weaponized it, and marketed it as a reason why the security state must continue to exist, drawing in money from outside and obviously leeching on money from within. I think that I'll just end that here, and बाकी फिर जब मैं सवाल के जवाब दूंगी मैं उसके अंदर और भी अगर कुछ points add करने हो तो मैं कर लूंगी. Sorry if I rambled on for too long. Okay, there are questions. Sorry, let me just do not mind. I'm going to take a shot of cough syrup, but I don't have corona. Sorry, just a croaky throat. चलें, कुछ ऐसे कमेंट्स हैं जिन्होंने कसम खा ली है कि इतना सब सुनने के बाद भी वो नहीं मानेंगे कि पश्तून्स लूटर्स और वाइल्ड पीपल के अलावा कुछ नहीं हो सकते. तो लेट्स मूव ऑन फ्रॉम दैट. So yeah, Hassan Ali says, for one time, if we ignore the past newspaper, what is the present situation and point of view of the people about Pakhtuns? You mean Pashtun is not just for battles? Yeah, of course, Pashtuns are not just for battles, and this is something that I think researchers now need to look at, right? कि जो elitist हिस्ट्री है जो कि लिखी जा रही है या जो नैरेटिव्स हैं वो लिखे जा रहे हैं, आई थिंक दैट दोज नीड टू बी चैलेंज्ड. एंड जो लोकल प्रोडक्शन है हिस्ट्री की, जो कि मनान का जो पीस मैंने आप लोगों को पढ़ने को कहा था उसके अंदर लिखी गई है, कि वो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, नॉट जस्ट फॉर एजेंसी बट इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट कि आप कलोनियल नॉलेज या पोस्ट कलोनियल नॉलेज को अकाउंटेबल करो कि ये आप क्या बातें कर रहे हो. देयर इज मोर टू पश्तून आइडेंटिटी देन जस्ट दैट. And because there's a absence of response from the other, and this is something that James Karen talks about, बहुत मुश्किल हो जाता है इस narrative को challenge करना. So yeah, definitely Pashtuns aren't just for battles. They were never just for battles. There was a lot attached to Pashtun identity, but because military officials and military commanders, British से लेके पाकिस्तान तक, पाकिस्तानी officials तक, ये सारे military ने control किया हुआ था उस region को, naturally then वो एक military tunnel vision, एक military led tunnel vision to support military policy, right? Pashtuns को उसी vision से देखा गया, and फिर policies भी उसी तरह फिर लागू की गई. Fahad Khan, I hope she covers how certain negative traits of our Pashtun culture on their own made an impact, how in some parts of the region. Yes, of course. I mean, I'm not saying this isn't a skewed, this isn't a biased analysis, I know it might sound like one. There are many things internal to Pashtun culture, like all cultures, that need to be that need to evolve and that need to change with time. But that's what I'm trying to say, because उनको इतना codify कर दिया गया और इतना cement कर दिया गया कि उनका बदलना बहुत मुश्किल हो गया था. And इसमें I'm not taking away agency from Pashtuns and saying कि नहीं नहीं जी वो कुछ कर नहीं सकते थे, नहीं वो बिल्कुल कर सकते थे. लेकिन because उन जगहों में और कोई डेवलपमेंट आई नहीं, they also couldn't see, they were also stuck in a zone of timelessness, right? वो भी एक जोन में फंसे हुए थे जहाँ पे ना पढ़ाई थी, ना अस्पताल थे, ना कोई लीगल स्ट्रक्चर्स थे. नेचुरली वो जो कल्चरल एबनॉर्मेलिटीज थी उनका बदलना, वो जो बदलते भी हैं वो कॉन्टैक्ट के साथ बदलते हैं. वो एजुकेशन के साथ चाहे कॉन्टैक्ट हो, आउटसाइड वर्ल्ड के साथ कॉन्टैक्ट हो, बट बिकॉज दीज रीजन्स वर completely cut off from other regions in the world, and also within the subcontinent, right? It obviously became very difficult for these cultures to evolve, and still is very difficult to evolve. So yeah, I completely agree. As far as Khan titles are concerned, and this is something I missed on, कि खानी जो elite थी वो बनाई ब्रिटिश में थी, ब्रिटिश ने थी. जो पश्तून जो इंटरनल स्ट्रक्चर था वो बहुत egalitarian था. But because British officials, like I said, wanted to rule on the cheap and rule indirectly, उन्होंने ये जो जिरगा सिस्टम को एक तो बहुत वो कर दिया, खराब कर दिया. उसके अंदर इन लोगों ने क्लास स्ट्रक्चर ये लोग ले आए by bringing in landlords and a landed elite of people, right? And that obviously brought in a lot of problems, and अभी तक ये problems exist करती हैं. Hassan Ali, why British hate Pashtun? You tell me after all of this. Um, just a second, you guys. Shadu, wait. Sorry, guys. Someone was asking for something. This is like the BBC moment where the children just walk in and this guy is giving an interview. That's my favorite video. जी आसिफ, वो वही लॉ की मैंने बात की थी, क्रिमिनल ट्राइब्स एक्ट. वो था, और भी ऐसे बहुत एक्ट्स थे जो कि इम्पोज किए गए थे. मतलब एफसीआर भी उसी की एक वो थी, क्या कहते हैं, मैनिफेस्टेशन. मैंने लिखा हुआ भी था यहाँ पे एक्चुअली, एक वो भी था, मर्डरस आउटरेजेस एक्ट. दैट्स ऑल्सो वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग बिकॉज उसके अंदर भी जो एक लैंग्वेज थी अराउंड मुस्लिम फनाटिसिज्म एंड दीज पीपल जो कि ऊपर से आके नीचे आते हैं अर्बन मॉडर्न सेंटर्स में, सिविलाइज सेंटर्स में, उसके अराउंड भी जो लैंग्वेज थी, इट्स वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग एंड इट्स समथिंग दैट you guys should look at. Murderous Outrages Act. Acha, Olivia, what was the feeling amongst Pashtuns during the nationalist movement, especially the Pakistan movement? How much or how little did the Pashtuns identify with the Urdu-speaking elite who were the main proponents of the idea of Pakistan? I think I think Pashtuns, as far as my understanding of it is, I don't think they identify with the Urdu-speaking elite. I think the majority of this country does not identify with the national project that the Urdu elite is trying to push. Still, after so many decades of Pakistan's existence, right? जो नेशनलिस्ट मूवमेंट तब थी, खुदाई खिदमतकार, ऑब्वियसली वो टाइम बहुत फ़र्क था, क्योंकि उस टाइम पे बहुत डिफरेंट किस्म की मूवमेंट्स थी, एंड तब भी they weren't in favor of Pakistan separating, because they felt that because and this is well known to a lot of people, and I think this is, if it's not, I think we should do a lot of research on that. We should look this up कि पाकिस्तान जो क्रिएट किया गया था वो हालांकि शुरू तो इस पॉइंट से हुआ था कि माइनॉरिटीज़ के लिए बन रहा है, लेकिन आखिर में जो रीजन्स पाकिस्तान के अंदर आए थे वो रीजन्स थे जो कि मेजॉरिटी रीजन्स थे, रीजन्स that weren't really experiencing any kind of large scale communal violence. They were fine, they were doing well, they were also collaborating. For example, Punjab ke andar I think it was the Unionist Party, if I'm not wrong, जिसके अंदर Sikh, Muslims, and Hindus. It was a multi-religious party, right? And they were working together. There was no problem at all. तो पाकिस्तान बना तो माइनॉरिटी के जो इश्यूज थे उन बेसिस पे, लेकिन एंड में वो माइनॉरिटीज बेचारी अभी तक बैठी हुई है इंडिया में, और वो मेजोरिटीज जिनको पार्टीशन की इतनी ज़रूरत नहीं थी, एंड दे वर ऑल्सो रेजिस्टिंग पार्टीशन बाय द वे, uh, वो regions आ गए इनके अंदर. So obviously they weren't okay with this project of the Urdu elite back then when Pakistan wasn't created. And this is, I'm talking about the Khudai Khidmatgar movement. They didn't want Pakistan to be a separate state. As far as the nationalist movement right now, they want to work. I mean, what they're asking for, वो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल राइट्स हैं. कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, पाकिस्तान के कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के अंदर ही वो काम करना चाहते हैं कि जो उसके अंदर राइट्स हैं जो कि दिए गए हैं हमें एज सिटीजन्स, वो उनके ऊपर भी लागू किए जाएं. उसके अलावा जो स्ट्रक्चर्स बाकी पाकिस्तान में एग्जिस्ट करते हैं, जिस तरह की सो कॉल्ड सिविलिटी एग्जिस्ट करती है, दैट्स ऑल्सो डिबेटेबल. बट उस तरह के स्ट्रक्चर्स, उस तरह का फोकस, उस तरह की काइंडनेस उनकी तरफ भी एक्सटेंड की जाए. एंड ऑब्वियसली ऑल दिस वाइल they're not asked to give up their identity, right? Because their identity is rooted in a history that predates the creation of Pakistan. Farhat Taj, can this discourse be left unchallenged? So I'm thinking of holistic understanding of Pashtun problems and also of intellectual honest, frankly. Um, I think they can be challenged. I think there needs to be, from my understanding of it, what I've seen now is कि बहुत ज़्यादा शुक्र है नया काम आ रहा है. um, not much, not as much as there should be. And I think that has a lot to do with the accessibility of the region, not just the accessibility of the region, but obviously private sphere में जो लोग private sphere को भी इनफिल्ट्रेट करना या उसके अंदर भी आना इज़ वेरी डिफ़िकल्ट रिसर्च के लिए. एंड लैंग्वेज की भी एक्सेसिबिलिटी का बहुत मसला है, तो रिसर्चर्स के लिए बहुत मुश्किल है ऑब्वियसली पश्तून्स के ऊपर लिखना from a very in a very honest way, in a very factual and accurate way, right? But I feel like, because, and this is the problem, because from within the community, right, Pashtuns के अंदर इतना education का मसला है कि वो, and that does not, however, mean that there isn't research being done. There is a lot of research being done that I've come to know of. Peshawar में बहुत हो रही है पश्तून्स के ऊपर, जो कि हो रही है, लेकिन मसला ये है कि because there's such a lack of resources and education and generally access to centers जो कि privileged लोग access कर सकते हैं, right? कि वो narratives या वो discourse जो published books की फॉर्म में आता है या आर्टिकल्स की फॉर्म में आता है, वो बहुत मुश्किल है. लेकिन ये चीज़ें आहिस्ता आहिस्ता बदल रही हैं. ये जो चीज़ें हैं ये चैलेंज की जा रही हैं कि ये जो कंसेप्शन है पश्तून्स के बारे में, ये कहाँ से ओरिजिनेट करता है, ये अभी तक किस तरह कंटिन्यू किया गया है. बेंजामिन हॉपकिंस का काम है इसके ऊपर, मनान का काम है इसके ऊपर, एलिज़ाबेथ लीक का काम है इसके ऊपर काफ़ी ज़्यादा. तो and I think that's very interesting to look at. James Karen is my favorite because he looks at how जो borderland region है उसकी तरफ से, उसके अंदर से narratives निकलने चाहिए, responses निकलने चाहिए, और history writing होनी चाहिए from within the community, right? Because not only is that a form of agency, but it's also a form of challenging colonial writings. आसिफ, हम अपने रिसोर्सेज अपने आप को डेवलप करने के लिए इसलिए नहीं यूज़ कर सकते बिकॉज हमारे रिसोर्सेज हमारे हाथ में नहीं है. इवन जो नेचुरल रिसोर्सेज प्रोड्यूस किए जाते हैं KPK में, वो डाइवर्ट कर दिए जाते हैं दूसरे सूबों की तरफ. And obviously, as we all know, the budget and the resources are not in the hands in our hands, and they're also not in the hands of, I would say, not even in the hands of the government. And because the kind of policy, और मैं यही तब से कह रही हूँ कि because जिस तरह इस रीजन को इमेजिन किया गया है, जिस तरह के प्लान्स इस रीजन के लिए बनाए गए हैं, वो प्लान्स उस जगह की डेवलपमेंट के नहीं है, वो the state or the deep state is not interested in developing the region. They're more interested in using that region for their own benefits. So जब resources अपने हाथ में आएंगे तो इंशाल्लाह क्यों नहीं develop जरूर किया जाएगा. तबकाती बिल्कुल वो कर देता है, बिकॉज जो क्लास सिस्टम था उस टाइम में, लाइक आई सेड, खानी एलीट बनाई गई थी. उससे पहले बहुत इगैलिटेरियन सिस्टम था और क्लास सिस्टम उस तरह कोई एग्जिस्ट नहीं करता था. बट जब खानी एलीट बना दी गई, एक लैंडलॉर्ड क्लास फ्रॉम विद इन द पश्तून्स बना दी गई, उनको लैंड दे दिया गया, उनको पावर दे दी गई ओवर दीज पीपल, तब वो लोग पश्तून इंटरेस्ट में इतना इंटरेस्टेड नहीं थे. दे वर मोर इंटरेस्टेड इन बीइंग यूज्ड एज पपेट्स ऑफ द ब्रिटिश गवर्नमेंट, राइट. तो जब तबके बीच में आ जाते हैं जो कि जो प्रिविलेज क्लास होती है या जो अपर क्लास होती है, दे आर नॉट रियली इंटरेस्टेड इन लेटिंग गो ऑफ दैट प्रिविलेज, एंड दे आर नॉट इंटरेस्टेड इन लेटिंग गो ऑफ दैट कंफर्ट ईदर, राइट, एंड दैट पावर. एंड वी सी दैट टुडे एज वेल. सो या आई थिंक जब वो सिस्टम आ गया, जिरगा सिस्टम भी काफ़ी खराब हो गया था उसके बाद, एंड इट वाज नो लॉन्गर बेस्ड ऑन विजडम, राइट, के वाइज लोगों को बीच में लाओ. इट वाज मोर बेस्ड ऑन मलिकों को लेके आओ, जो खान हैं उनको लेके आओ, एंड दे वर बेसिकली द एलीट एंड दे हैड पावर ओवर डिसीजन मेकिंग. वेदर और नॉट दैट दोज डिसीजंस वर गुड फॉर द पीपल is a different thing, but I mean, it's not a different thing. Those decisions were not great for the people because those decisions were meant to be taken to be great for the British, right? Or jo unke interests the in the region. Minerva, how do you think the stereotyping of the Pashtun has benefited capitalism historically, and how does that pan out today? How does that relate to the war economy? Very interesting. So Minerva, wonderful question. How do you think that? So the stereotyping of Pashtuns, like I said, has benefited the war economy and capitalism greatly, right? Because जो मैंने बात की थी कि तब जब ये officials थे, जब ये वहाँ पे उस British officials थे और उस region में थे और colonial vulnerability आ गई थी, तो उसमें सिर्फ ये बात नहीं थी कि वो बड़े डरे हुए थे और बड़े मासूम और मायूस थे कि उस रीजन को कंट्रोल करना था, बट दोज पीपल वर ऑल्सो स्मार्ट इनफ टू रियलाइज कि ओ यू नो बाय somehow एक तो इस चीज को इस्तेमाल करके ये जो स्टीरियोटाइपिंग हुई हुई है, राइट, एक तो ये चीज हो गई, इस्तेमाल हो गई. दूसरी तरफ ये बात इस्तेमाल हो गई कि वहां उस एरिया से एक कम्युनिकेशन भी नहीं हो रही और वो एरिया एक बिल्कुल इनविजिबल है. इट फंक्शंस इन अ जोन ऑफ इनविजिबिलिटी एंड पीपल डोंट हैव एक्सेस टू इट, राइट. सो देयर इज नो काउंटर नैरेटिव नहीं है, and these officials not only have power of the pen, right, but they also have access to power centers, and they also have access to newspapers जिसमें वो लिख सकते हैं कि ये जो कौन सा हाथ है, ये जो लोग हैं ये पागल हैं, ठीक है, ये they're militants and they're crazy and we need protection, right. So when you combine such knowledge with a lack of communication, you can acquire a lot of resources for such constructed vulnerability कि हम इतने vulnerable हैं, हमें पैसा दो, right. So उस टाइम में ये था. इसमें ये भी बहुत है, and I think this is something that's missing from nationalism के narratives या पाकिस्तान के creation के narratives, that frontier की जो volatility थी या वहाँ से जो resistance आ रही थी उस region से, that had a lot to do with weakening the British colonial system, right? And that had a lot to do with them backing off eventually as well, because वहाँ उन्होंने इतनी troop deployment की हुई थी, इतने resources वो वहाँ पे लगा रहे थे because of this vulnerability, right? कि बाकी जो colonial India था, वहाँ पे obviously they couldn't then deploy so many forces to fight off nationalist struggles, right? And that is something that's not mentioned in क्या कहते हैं पार्टीशन जो हमारी पाकिस्तान की पार्टीशन हिस्ट्री है उसमें नहीं मेंशन ये किया जाता. एंड ऑब्वियसली वॉर इकोनॉमी की जो बात है अभी, बिकॉज ऑफ how this region is completely closed off, it's very interesting how, because of this lack of communication and because of this lack of accountability, उस एरिया में किस तरह ड्रग ट्रेड भी हो रहा है, किस तरह बॉर्डर जब ऐसे एलिमेंट्स जो हैं जो डार्क एलिमेंट्स हैं वो खुलवाना चाहें तो वो बॉर्डर खुल भी जाता है. There is no problem at all. That obviously then helps flourishing the war economy, right? It also helps ke when you paint Pashtuns in a certain way and you swear by the volatility of the region and its people, right? It also has historically in Pakistan helped acquire a lot of resources and a lot of money and a lot of funding from international bodies and countries as well, right? So I mean America की जो funding थी वो इसी basis पे थी कि इन लोगों के साथ ये लोग तो बहुत volatile हैं and they can't be dealt with otherwise, they can't be yeah, dealt with otherwise. हालांकि जो तालिबान की पॉलिसी थी वो कहाँ से निकली थी, वो इंडिजिनस एक मूवमेंट थी या वो स्टेट्स ने ही उसको फंड किया था, वो एक अलग बात है. बट या आई मीन दिस होल stereotyping business had a lot to do with how much resources were acquired and how the drug economy and all other such black economies flourished at the time. How does the stereotyping of the Pashtun benefit the nation state building project? It really helps. It really helps because Pashtuns, stereotyping Pashtuns as inherently volatile basically means that they're degenerates, right? That they either have to enter the zone of civility by renouncing their identity, right, and becoming one with the nation state. And nation state, जो कि पाकिस्तान जिस तरह imagine करता है, nation state एक उर्दू स्पीकिंग सुन्नी elite का उर्दू स्पीकिंग सुन्नी नेशन स्टेट जिसकी और कोई आइडेंटिटी या लॉयल्टीज ना हो, और वो अपनी हिस्ट्री भी भूल जाए, तो स्टेरियोटाइप करना पश्तून को really benefits it, right? Because it says that and it's the same with the Baloch, right? If these people can't become a part of this realm of civility and this realm of not just civility but दिस realm of legitimacy, कि ये एक legitimate identity है जिसकी हम बात करेंगे, ये लोग नहीं एंटर कर सकते तो ये या तो गद्दार है या तो ये पागल हैं और या तो इनको समझ नहीं आती. एंड मोस्टली गद्दारी का जो लेबल है वो अभी फिलहाल लगाया जा रहा है इसके ऊपर. सो इट रियली डज बेनिफिट इट. Adnan Hussain. Yes, I did talk about 3G, 4G internet service. There's no 3G, 4G internet service. There's no way of, I mean, जब खड़कामर मैसेकर भी हुआ था तब recordings जिस तरह शेयर की गई थी, लोगों ने जो वीडियोस बनाई थी, they had to come to down to towns and cities जहाँ पे internet access उनको फिर मिला था, and then they managed to share these videos with people. But otherwise, because there's no internet facility, that also becomes a huge problem in communicating not just grievances but also having some kind of a connection with the outside world. And outside world में सिर्फ पाकिस्तान नहीं आ जाता, but outside world में पूरी दुनिया भी आ जाती है जहाँ पे communication generally बहुत मुश्किल है because there's no internet service. And yeah. Georg, sorry, I'm reading through the whole thing. Yes, Georg. So I did talk about this. I think I talked about it a bit like before your question. Wonderful question, by the way. Yeah, I mean, elite classes, like I said, it was a very egalitarian society prior to the British meddling with it. there was a Khani elite, there were Maliks, and these people were the landed elite, and they were given lands to then exercise control over these areas and be the eyes and the ears, and the mouths as well of these British officials. So yeah, I mean that was definitely a thing in Pashtun areas, and this is also definitely a thing right now. And this is something I didn't actually talk about because I thought I was rambling on too much, so I didn't get to the PTM part of it. But yeah, even in the case of PTM, the way that the state has dealt with them, I mean, other than propaganda, censorship, and downright violence, is that any kind of sweet talk that would they want to do with them, or any kind of negotiation that they want to do with them, is done through this landed elite, right? Is done through these khans and these maliks who would go out and communicate something in Urdu, but when they're speaking with these people in Pashto, and because Pashto is not known by the rest of I mean, is not a widely known or spoken language in the country by other groups. That they try to work out solutions with them, but then completely say something else behind their backs. So yeah, these local elites are definitely still being used to somehow negotiate or somehow exercise power over these people. And interestingly enough, these local elites are also being used to popularize and further the narrative of the state. So, for example, there was an incident. Where there was an incident in Khesor, where there were allegations of harassment were made against security forces, right? And that became a huge thing. And the way that the state somehow tried to cover that up was that they invited these maliks and these khans, so the landed elite basically, and they made them debunk it, and they made them say that no such thing happened, and this is all these are all rumors, and we spoke to the woman, we spoke to the family, and people are just trying to take advantage of the situation. So basically, they became the mouthpiece of the state and the deep state. Um, Socialist strategies. I think definitely, of course, we do need a workers' movement, and I think the Pashtun Tahaffuz movement, the PTM, is definitely a working class movement. It's a grassroots movement. Very it's a grassroots movement talking about grassroots issues, right? And they also talk. I mean. One can say that the kind of criticism that's coming from them is in terms of how elite Pashtuns have not really helped them in their project, and also haven't really helped them in the oppression that these people faced. And also the elite in general, they talk about how and by elite in general I mean elite provinces, how their resources have been taken from them, how those with power have unleashed a regime of terror on their areas by humiliating them, by stopping them at checkposts, and yeah, humiliating them. So yeah, I think a workers' movement is definitely needed, and one that's obviously led by socialist is led through socialist strategies, and I think that's something that the PTM is doing and needs to work on more. And then we've got a few PTM fans. Zafarullah Kakar, how much the PTM did its part as counter narrative and what it should do further. I think they've done wonderfully, to be honest. The fact that they still haven't retaliated, despite the state really trying to make them retaliate, right? कि कोशिश तो बिल्कुल हो रही है कि उनको violence के ऊपर उकसाया जाए, violence की तरफ उनको push किया जाए. लेकिन अभी तक इस तरह की कोई वायलेंस नहीं आई उनकी तरफ से. एंड आई थिंक दैट नीड्स टू कंटिन्यू. आई थिंक कंसिडरिंग के ये मूवमेंट जिस तरह की है और जिन लोगों के बीच में निकली है, देव सफर्ड because of this production of Pashtun identity कि ये लोग violent हैं और militant हैं and सिर्फ colonial time में तो चलो produce हो गई लेकिन आगे भी जिस तरह I mean जो मैंने अमेरिकन टेक्स्ट पढ़े थे बहुत बड़ी गलती की थी लेकिन वो जो अमेरिकन टेक्स्ट थे basically I went through when I came to Pakistan बीच में और मैं किताबें इकट्ठी करी थी and I basically checked the market right कि किस तरह की किताबें हैं इस्लामाबाद और लाहौर के मैंने किए थे कि किस तरह की किताबें हैं जो कि पाकिस्तान जो कि पश्तून्स के ऊपर मार्केट में पाई जाती हैं और वो इतनी कोई खौफनाक अजीबो गरीब इनएक्यूरेट किताबें थीं जिसके अंदर जो अमेरिकन ये जो मिलिट्री के डिप्लॉय हुए हुए लोग थे वो जब अफगानिस्तान से जंग शंग करके वापस आ जाते थे अमेरिका तो उनको लगता था कि वो ना अब किताबें लिख सकते हैं बड़ी फैक्चुअल किस्म की तो उसके अंदर जिस तरह की बातें थी पश्तून्स के बारे में लिखी हुई they were horrific and it's amazing how these texts were widely available in these markets and there was no counter narrative to it जो फैक्चुअल किताबें थी जो अच्छी किताबें थी जो कि हैं ये नहीं है कि नहीं पाई जाती वो नहीं थी इन स्टोर्स में एंड आई थिंक कि जब उस सेंस में डिस्कोर्स की इतनी कमी है तो डेफिनेटली जो कि पीटीएम का डिस्कोर्स है वो फिर और भी इस जगह में ज़रूरी हो जाता है कि वो लोग इसको चैलेंज कर सकें लेकिन उसमें फिर मसला ये है कि जो मेन स्ट्रीम आपकी मीडिया है जो कि आपकी मेजॉरिटी लोग देखती है वो उसके ऊपर ये नैरेटिव बिल्कुल नहीं आ रहा और वो नैरेटिव जिस तरह आ भी रहा है वो बिल्कुल completely like opposite to what the PTM is doing aa raha hai. So I think that's problematic, but I think the struggle continues. They should stick to their program. Zara Sayed, what are the causes of Pashtun nationalism in the context of Pakistan in your perspective? I think, Zara, I spoke about this, but briefly, I think it's about uh, it's about resources. It's about being lesser children of God. It's about being ignored in terms of development. It's about owning their identity. It's about stereotyping. It's also about the war economy. It's about how these areas have been used as a marshland, as zones of indifference जहाँ पे कुछ भी कर लो जो भी कर लो ना कोई पूछेगा ना कोई कुछ कहेगा आसिफ नहीं उससे पहले क्लास स्ट्रक्चर का लाइक आई सेड इतना कोई कॉन्सेप्ट नहीं था इट वाज प्रीटी egalitarian at the time Ikra, how do you see right events potential to deconstruct mainstream narrative associated in treasure? इकरा आपके सवाल से पहले किसी और ने इसी तरह की बात पूछी थी जिसमें मैंने इसका जवाब दे दिया है पश्तून माशरे के अंदर जितना कमी है उसको बुनियाद बनाकर हमारे की बाहर चला जी बिल्कुल आई ऑल्सो डेफिनेटली इंडोर्स अख्तर आपने बिल्कुल सही बात की और आई थिंक मुझसे ज़्यादा बेहतर आपने जवाब दे दिया है फरहत को कि ये जो जिस तरह हमें डिप्राइव्ड रखा गया है एजुकेशन से उसकी वजह से बहुत मुश्किल हो जाता है अंदर की तरफ से आपके नैरेटिव्स निकलें या आप एज अ सोसाइटी भी बेहतर हो कम्युनिटी थैंक यू आमिर जमान आई एम ग्लैड यू गाइज लाइक्ड इट इंशाल्लाह कोशिश करूँगी कि पश्तो में नेक्स्ट टाइम मैं ये लेक्चर कर सकूँ Also, what is your analysis of the left's engagement with the Pashtun national question or any national question? Because on the one we see a completely stagnant government, largely standard that projects them. Yeah, Minerva, I do feel the left needs to engage with the Pashtun national question more, and same as the Baloch question. But as far as the Pashtun national question is concerned, I do feel that I mean, at least I haven't been a part of the left, and I haven't really. I'm sorry, like I will give this disclaimer. I haven't engaged with the left as much because मेरी ज़्यादा लेफ्ट के साथ जो एसोसिएशन है जब मैं आई हूँ दिसंबर के एंड में वापस तब से मेरी हुई है तो एंड आई थिंक आई हैव डिस्कस्ड दिस विद यू एज वेल आई डोंट नो द इंट्रिकेसीज ऑफ how the left has been lacking, which is very sad and shameful. But I feel कि जितना मैंने अभी अपने थोड़े टाइम में नोट किया है मैंने ये देखा है कि नेशनल क्वेस्ट जो पश्तून्स की तरफ एटलीस्ट and I think I can't speak for the Baloch. I think डेफिनेटली उनको वो खुद भी बोलते हैं और उनको बोलना चाहिए वो अपने आप को बेहतर रिप्रेजेंट कर सकते हैं लेकिन पश्तून्स का जितना मैंने देखा है देयर इजंट the kind of support that they have from the left isn't as great as I would expect it to be. I do feel that and I also feel कि on the ground जो support है वो नहीं exist करता at least लाहौर left में मैंने इतनी कोई इंथुजियाज्म नहीं देखी कि कोई उनकी और उनका ऑर्गेनाइज किया जाए कोई फॉर एग्जांपल सिट इन और कोई प्रोटेस्ट एंड आई थिंक that has a lot to do with the kind of fear that exists as well and the kind of propaganda and censorship that the state responds with and also the violence that the state responds with, right? So I feel the left definitely does need to do more, um, and especially I feel working class के जो लोग हैं उनको definitely mobilize करना चाहिए because there's a and this is I mean this wasn't even known to me for the longest time unfortunately because ignorance तो हर जगह पे मौजूद है but urban centers के अंदर भी काफ़ी ज़्यादा presence है पश्तून्स के अंदर especially पंजाब के अंदर भी काफ़ी ज़्यादा presence here and I think mobilizing them and offering them support, it's not that they're not politically conscious people but I feel like definitely considering that they're easy targets because they are working class people that they need support and companionship uh, from those engaged with the left who are more privileged and are better placed in society, right? But yeah, I feel like I haven't really seen that kind of enthusiasm. The only thing I saw was after Manzoor's arrest, ke Liberty Chalk pe hua tha protest, but that was also, I mean, the turnout was it wasn't as great as I would have expected it to be. Um, जी, जमाल ख़ान बिल्कुल ये मैं भी एग्री करती हूँ कि स्टेट की इंटरवेंशन के बाद स्टेट की इंटरवेंशन पश्तून कल्चर इंटरनली भी मतलब देयर आर अ लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स दैट आर वेरी फ्लॉड विद पश्तून कल्चर बट आई फील लाइक हमें कभी ये पता नहीं चलेगा कि पश्तून कल्चर किस हद तक इवॉल्व होता क्योंकि इवॉल्व उसको होने नहीं दिया उसको इतना इंस्टीट्यूशनलाइज कर दिया उसको इतना क्रिस्टलाइज कर दिया इतना पक्का कर दिया उसको और उसके बाद सिर्फ पक्का नहीं कर दिया गया इंस्टीट्यूशंस के अंदर और लॉज के अंदर सो बाय लॉज आई मीन अब एफसीआर क्या था एफसीआर एक उसी नॉलेज की नॉलेज को पक्का करना था ना कि नहीं पश्तून के लिए यही लॉ हो सकता है इन ये तो इतने अलग किस्म के इंसान हैं कि इनके ऊपर एक प्रॉपर लीगल सिस्टम या जुडिशल सिस्टम तो ये लोग बर्दाश्त ही नहीं कर पाएंगे राइट तो जब आपने इस तरह का उसको वो कर दिया, पक्का कर दिया उनके कल्चर को। उसके बाद वो कल्चर किस तरह इवॉल्व कर सकता, वो हमें ना कभी पता चला, और शायद काफ़ी देर तक हमें पता चलेगा भी नहीं कि किस तरह होता। सो या आई डेफिनेटली एग्री कि स्टेट की इंटरवेंशन एंड इन्वॉल्वमेंट के बाद उस कल्चर को काफ़ी मसले एक इवॉल्व नहीं हो पाया। और दूसरी बात, जिस तरह स्टेट ने उस कल्चरल कुछ चीज़ों के ऊपर एम्फेसिस भी ज़्यादा प्लेस किया। सो फॉर एग्जांपल पश्तून मैस्कुलिनिटी हो गई, या पश्तून कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ ऑनर हो गया, या पश्तून कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ बदला लेना हो गया, कि बदले लेते हैं और ब्लड फ्यूड्स होते हैं। आई थिंक उन चीज़ों को इतनी इम्पोर्टेंस दे दी गई और इस हद तक एम्पलीफाई कर दिया गया और वाजे कर दिया गया कि जो बाकी चीज़ें थी उन उस कल्चर के अंदर जो अच्छी थी, उन चीज़ों को आगे लाया ही नहीं गया, उनके ऊपर तो बात की ही नहीं गई। तो obviously मतलब it's about what was emphasized more, what was um, considered as the primary aspect of Pashtun identity. To be very honest, Minerva, I do feel personally that they need to. You're right. I think they really need to step back from figures like Ashraf Ghani. I understand that this whole idea of Larobar yo Afghan, right? That Afghans are essentially a nation, and it's all right to take pride in take pride in that, right? So by nation they mean they don't mean in terms of geography. By nation they mean in terms of identity, in terms of ethnicity, right? I do stand by that. I do feel that there's no reason to forego that. I mean, it's the same as Punjabis in Pakistan and Punjabis in India, saying that they're Punjabis, and that's absolutely all right, of course. And I think the state doesn't need to react so badly to PTM saying that, but I do feel that they need to distance themselves from people like Ashraf Ghani, who will obviously, I mean, I feel could take advantage of the situation and of the movement. I'm not saying that he's taking advantage of the movement in terms of like giving them money, जो कि पाकिस्तान state कहता है, but take advantage of them in the fact कि दो अगर पाकिस्तान की रियासत के साथ जी अशरफ गनी को कोई मसला हो गया या उनकी आपस में लड़ाई हो गई, तो अशरफ गनी ने जस्ट पिंच देम अ लिटिल बिट, उन्होंने पीटीएम की favor में कोई tweet कर दी, right? So I think PTM does need to keep the movement as indigenous as possible, as grassroots as possible. I think there's a lot of strength in them. There's a lot of legitimacy to them. They do not need to seek the legitimacy of imperialist puppets like Ashraf Ghani. And I think more than anything they need to build a working class solidarity within the movement, and that's the kind of support that they need to appeal to, right, and need to work on, as opposed to working on bourgeois on the bourgeoisie politicians, या उनका support लेने के लिए. Sorry guys, I just realized my battery is as always running out. तो उस किस्म का सपोर्ट उनको वो करना चाहिए, उस किस्म के जो कि शुरू में उन्होंने किया था. शुरू में जब उन्होंने लोगों को इनवाइट करना शुरू किया था अपने स्टेज पे, उसमें औरतें भी थी, उसमें बच्चे भी थे, उसमें वर्किंग क्लास लोग भी थे. एंड वी ऑल्सो नीड टू रियलाइज दैट दिस मूवमेंट वाज पॉपुलराइज्ड मोर बिकॉज ऑफ अ वर्किंग क्लास पर्सन लाइक नकीबुल्ला महसूद, राइट, who was killed. And he was a working class person in Karachi, and I think that's the reason why the movement garnered so much support, because it wasn't just about identity, it was also about working class struggles, it was also about privilege and the lack of it. So I do feel that they need to advance that kind of solidarity as opposed to solidarity with imperialist puppets. Nasrullah Khan Wazir said, sorry again. Yeah, I definitely think that PTM, while I mean PTM, I think that is something that PTM is doing. कि अपने आप को रिप्रेजेंट करते हुए वो सिर्फ अपनी पॉलिटिकल एजेंसी को नहीं वो करे, बट एट द सेम टाइम वो कल्चर की भी बात कर रहे हैं। और आई थिंक उनकी उनकी जो ये नॉन वायलेंस की एक स्ट्रैटेजी है, दैट इज़ नॉट जस्ट सिंपली कि बस उन्होंने सोचा तो उन्होंने कर लिया, बट आई थिंक दैट्स अ वेरी स्मार्ट स्ट्रैटेजी एंड दैट्स अ वेरी politically sophisticated strategy, जिससे आई थिंक they're sort of responding, and I think this is something they've talked about as well, right? कि it's their way of responding to these narratives. It is their way of physically talking about this narrative कि we're not violent, we're not going to हम violence कर ही नहीं सकते और ना हम करने वाले हैं, चाहे आप जो मर्जी करें। तो आई थिंक कि वो जो कल्चरल और पॉलिटिकल एजेंसी है, वो represent कर रहे हैं अपनी मूवमेंट के थ्रू, एंड आई थिंक इट्स ब्रिलियंट। Yusufzai, Ashna, don't you think that there are some hidden forces who are killing innocent people at the Pakhtunkhwa land, just incite them for violence and weaken or try to break Pakistan? Um, I think I did talk about this. Ke people are being incited, कि वो violence की तरफ आएं, और सिर्फ पीटीएम के लोगों को ही नहीं वो किया जा रहा, बट जनरली भी लोगों को किया जा रहा है। सो या आई थिंक आई एग्री विद दिस, बट आई मीन सिंस but I think this is just speculation. Whether or not it's speculation is a different thing, but I'd like to keep things academic. But yeah, I do think personally that that's being done. To what extent the emergence of Taliban and Pashtun nationalism correlated to one another? I think Pashtun nationalism in terms of PTM and PTM, जो कि is does represent Pashtuns, right? Because they have a huge support of Pashtuns, considering कि उनके जलसों पे और उनके प्रोटेस्ट पे कितने लोग जाते हैं। तो I think ये जो मूवमेंट है, दैट इज काइंड ऑफ नॉट जस्ट अ काउंटर नैरेटिव टू द स्टेट, लेकिन इट इज अ काउंटर नैरेटिव to the Taliban's as well, right? They're basically not just challenging the state and its narratives, लेकिन वो तालिबान के narratives को भी challenge कर रहे हैं, and they're based, and that's also why I mean there are sources जिन्होंने मतलब ये ट्विटर पे भी लिखा है, और जनरली के तालिबान थ्रेटन कर रहे हैं लोगों को अभी भी, and there is some kind of presence of the Taliban in the frontier region, जो कि they are threatening people to stay quiet and not be politically active. And I think ये वो एक threat exist करता है पश्तून nationalism का तालिबान की तरफ, and I think the PTM is an outcome of what the state did in the frontier, and it's also an outcome of what the Taliban did in the frontier. And I think it's the people's way of saying that enough is enough. Thank you, Amir Zaman. I try my best, but there's still a lot that I don't know and would like to work on, and perhaps add more to the discourse. Minerva, what is your opinion on how, Minerva, I love your questions, by the way. What is your opinion on how Afghan refugees are demonized in Pakistan, especially given how those refugees lost their homes and had to migrate to Pakistan because of a war that our country supported in their country? Why are Afghan refugees a threat to the nation state project of our national bourgeoisie? Wonderful questions. This requires like a separate, I feel like your questions require a separate, what do you call it, study circle. And I'm thinking of like noting them down and then answering them in a separate study circle if possible. लेकिन हाँ, Afghan refugees को बहुत demonize किया जाता है. I mean, considering the fact that they're still not considered as nationals offered citizenship of the citizenship, they basically exist as undocumented ghosts in the country. There are also reports के उनके जो refugee camps हैं, या जो not refugee camps, but जिन आबादियों में वो रहते हैं, उनके घर अभी तक रेड किए जाते हैं। पुलिस वाले उनके घरों को रेड करते हैं, वो रिश्वत के लिए रिश्वत ले लेते हैं based on obviously their identity and how they exist in Pakistan, right? कर लेते हैं, and वो पैसे दे देते हैं, and then they go away, and then they come back some other time. It's also interesting कि अभी पिछले एक साल में जितना मैंने नोट किया था, स्पेशली जब बीच में पीटीएम की पीटीएम के काफ़ी जलसे होना शुरू हो गए थे. आई ऑल्सो नोटिस दैट देयर वाज अ सर्ज in associating criminality with Afghan identity. I don't know कि ये किसी ये again I'm sorry, this is not something that's an academically verifiable thing, बट जितनी मेरी ऑब्जर्वेशन थी कि उस टाइम में बहुत ये नैरेटिव था कि हाँ, और वो जो चोर था या हाँ वो जो रेपिस्ट था, वो जो था ना, वो अफगान था, वो अफगान था. एंड देयर वाज दिस कांस्टेंट डिस्कशन about Afghan identity and its association, and was constantly being associated with criminality. And that really makes one think about how criminality was associated by the British with certain identities as well, and was codified in law, right? So yeah, I mean, it's really hypocritical, and it's really shameful as well that these people were the reason that they're here in this country is not because हमने कोई बड़ा तीर मारा था refugees को accept करने का, या हमने बड़ा उनके ऊपर एहसान किया था. The reason that they're in this position currently is because what the state of Pakistan decided to do with its policy towards Pakistan, and how it decided to collaborate with the US government. So, I mean, it's technically, I'm sorry, it is really their doing, right? तो ये जो अक्सर मतलब इमरान खान साहब भी बातें करते हैं कि हमने इतने ज़्यादा रेफ्यूजीज आज तक किसी ने नहीं एक्सेप्ट किए. वेल, वी हैड टू, राइट? वी हैड टू बिकॉज we were the perpetrators, and we basically led them to the condition that we pushed these we pushed those people to become refugees, right? So it was an outcome of our policy, and it's great that for once we did take responsibility of it. But then again, we still have no mechanism in place जिसमें हम इन refugees के लिए उसके beyond भी कुछ कर सकें, right? Afghan refugees are a threat to the nation state project because it's, I mean, and I think this is the reason why they're also not being given any citizenship, because I mean, apart from the different identities that exist within Pakistan, jo ke they're wrestling for control, and they're wrestling for autonomy, and they're wrestling for some kind of space within पाकिस्तान. उसके साथ साथ एक अफगान आइडेंटिटी भी आ जाए तो वो तो बहुत बड़ा मसला हो जाता है कि ऑलरेडी भी जो हैंडल करने की कोशिश करें वो नहीं हैंडल किए जा रहे, तो और भी हो गए. इट ऑल्सो एड्स, अफगान रेफ्यूजीज ऑल्सो एड टू द पश्तून डेमोग्राफिक, राइट? डिपेंडिंग ऑन ऑब्वियसली के are they Afghan Pashtuns, because Afghanistan ke andar bhi, I know we conflate Afghans with Pashtuns, but Afghanistan ke andar bhi bahut zyada ethnic identities hain. So, but if they're Afghan Pashtuns, then obviously unki collaboration with Pashtun identity, and then Pashtuns ki jo Afghanness hai, jo ki wo kehte hain ki we're Afghans, right? If that somehow gets more people from the Afghan refugees and wo ek collaboration ho jaye, so that's obviously going to be very problematic as well for these national bourgeoisie, not just in terms of the nation state project, in terms of who is a Pakistani, but also in terms of power and votes and क्या कहते हैं, द सेंसस, एंड कितने पश्तून्स हैं और कितने पंजाबी हैं और कितना कौन है. तो या, आई डेफिनेटली थिंक अफगान्स आर a threat, and that's why we'd like them to be just roaming around with no identification and no citizenship, and as ghosts in the country as opposed to actual citizens. And I think it is something that we need to, and we should offer them if we truly do feel that we're really nice people and we've done them a huge favor. Then I think, why not take it to the next step? Qasim, I don't know about this specific stereotype that you're talking about by the Pashtun wala. I'm really sorry. लेकिन जहाँ तक आप military establishment की बात कर रहे हैं कि Pashtuns are second partners, thank you for asking that, because ये जो sorry ये जो बात है फाइनली ये मैंने नहीं की क्योंकि मैं एक्सपेक्ट कर रही थी कि ये सवालों में आएगी, और ये हमेशा सवालों में आती है कि मिलिट्री इस्टेब्लिशमेंट में पश्तून्स हैं, तो आप लोग क्या कहते हैं कि आप लोगों के पास पावर नहीं है. देयर आर टू थिंग्स. I hope I don't like remember a third one and then ramble on. But the first thing is that the whole idea of the only, आप जब किसी को पावर देते हो, आप पावर बहुत सोच के देते हो, राइट? This is also a way of, I mean, the same way that Khans and Maliks were given power to rule over Pashtuns for someone else was a policy, right? It wasn't because they liked just a few Pashtuns and unko ji zameenein de di, right? It's the same way Pashtuns, my analysis of this is कि Pashtuns who are so-called second partners in the military are because they are a way to, help the establishment exercise control over these areas, right? Que these people can be the eyes and the ears and the mouthpieces, but in this case, eyes and ears of the establishment in these Pashtun areas, right? सो आप एक ऐसी एलीट क्रिएट कर देते हो एक उसके अंदर, इदारे के अंदर, जो कि एक ऐसी कम्युनिटी से होती है जो कि बहुत अप्रेस्ड होती है. आप उस अप्रेस्ड कम्युनिटी से 5, 10, 15, 20 लोगों को उठा लेते हो, उनको पावर दे देते हो और उनको कहते हो कि अगर तुम्हें, और उस पावर का ना थोड़ा उनको मजा भी आ जाता है, ठीक है, जिसको कहते हैं कि चस्का आ जाता है पावर का. तो जब पावर का उनको मजा आ जाता है, उसके बाद उनको कहते हैं कि अच्छा अब तुम्हें मजा आ गया, तुम बहुत कंफर्टेबल भी हो गए हो इस प्रिविलेज में और इस पावर में, तो हाउ अबाउट यू नाउ exercise control over these oppressed people even more, right? To कि हमारी पॉलिसीज तुम जाके इन जगहों में लगाओ, बिकॉज तुम्हें तो कल्चर भी समझ आता है, तुम्हें तो जबान भी समझ आती है, तुम्हें तो जनरली नेविगेट भी करना उन एरियाज में तुम्हारे लिए बहुत आसान होगा. तो my analysis is that that is one reason why there are a lot of Pashtuns in the bureaucracy in the military establishment. The second thing, the whole knowledge production जो कि मैंने बात की थी, the construction of Pashtun identity as a martial race, right? As basically saying that Pashtuns are amazing at firing guns and feuds and fights and war and militancy, and there's nothing else that they're good at. There's nothing else that they've done in their lives. और तो कुछ है ही नहीं ना associated with Pashtun identity, right? So then when you make them, I wouldn't say stakeholders, when you give them some kind of space in the military establishment, you're also sort of feeding into that idea, right? Martial race theory tied to giving them space in the military establishment, this is the only kind of function that you can perform in this country, and that is to be a part of the military, and that is to be a part of the military on our terms. You cannot be a part of the military on your own terms. So that is my response to that, and that is my analysis of this whole thing कि जी वो काफी majority है पश्तून्स की military के अंदर. ओ जोर से बोल, सॉरी सॉरी सॉरी, मैं पीछे हो गई थी थोड़ा सा. नसरुल्ला खान वाज वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग क्वेश्चन कि उनकी अपनी क्या एजेंसी थी इस नॉलेज प्रोडक्शन के अंदर. दिस इज समथिंग दैट आई एक्चुअली डेयर टॉक अबाउट इन माय डिसर्टेशन एज वेल, कि सिंपली टू से कि दे वर पैसिव रिसीवर्स ऑफ, कि उनका तो कोई कि बस ब्रिटिश जी लिखते जा रहे थे और ब्रिटिश जी बस फिक्शनलाइज कर रहे थे और फैब्रिकेट कर रहे थे, और पश्तून्स की अपनी जी कोई भी उनका इनपुट नहीं था इस knowledge production के अंदर. I think that is incorrect. You're absolutely correct. That is incorrect because that somehow takes away the agency from these Pashtuns, the agency they also in a way probably exercised in constructing this identity, right? They did not have agency in countering this identity formation, but they surely did have agency in contributing to this identity formation. And I'll explain why. Because ये जो ब्रिटिश जो मैं बार बार पोजिशनैलिटी की बात करी थी कि मिलिट्री ऑफिसर्स थे, ऑफिशियल्स थे, तो नेचुरली जिस तरह उन्होंने आइडेंटिटी के बारे में लिखना था वो एक मिलिट्री टनल विजन से ही लिखना था। उनको क्या था कि उनकी पर्सनल लाइफ्स कैसी हैं, उनका और कल्चरल जो और चीज़ें हैं, नॉट रिलेटेड टू रेजिस्टेंस एंड फ्यूड्स एंड वॉर एंड ऑनर, उसके अलावा जो कल्चरल चीज़ें हैं उनको क्या था, उनको कोई इंटरेस्ट नहीं था उस चीज़ के अंदर, राइट? सो दे वर ओनली इंटरेस्टेड इन थिंग्स दैट वर इम्पोर्टेंट टू देम and their control and their power, right? So naturally वो लोग तो उन चीज़ों को ऑब्जर्व कर रहे थे, बट आगे से ये बात नहीं है कि जब colonial officials ये फॉर्म कर रहे थे रिस्पॉन्स नहीं आ रहा था। Obviously Pashtuns as well, they were resisting. They were resisting because there was an expansionist policy. So जब Elphinstone ने favorably लिखा Pashtuns के बारे में, वो इसलिए लिखा because not because वो British alliance कर रहा था, बट वो इसलिए भी लिखा कि बिकॉज जो पश्तून्स को इक्वली ट्रीट किया जा रहा था, द पश्तून्स वर ऑल्सो काइंड टू हिम, राइट? दे वर ऑल्सो ऑफरिंग कंपेनियनशिप and allegiance to the British. And that is why they did contribute to that identity formation. Similarly, when things went south and the British started expanding, and वो aggressive हो गए, and they started treating Pashtuns as a problem, right? So naturally the Pashtuns also started resisting, and जो जंगे भी हुई, बंदूकें भी चली, और भी बहुत कुछ हुआ, right? तो वो जब हुआ तो naturally the British were like, oh, ये तो मार्शल रेस है, और ये तो बहुत रेजिस्ट कर रहे हैं, और ये तो बहुत ही they're very very militant in their energy. So their conception was constructed because of the response that these Pashtuns were giving. So the Pashtuns did have agency. They were responding, and somehow those responses were being recorded in how the British were perceiving the Pashtuns, right? But the problem is that perception was very limited. वो एक holistic understanding नहीं थी पश्तून्स की, वो एक बहुत military tunnel vision जिसकी military officials की, उनके interests की, और उसकी तरफ जो resistance आ रही थी, obviously resistance आती है, उस रेजिस्टेंस का एनालिसिस था और वो रिकॉर्ड हो रहा था। बट बाकी जो एस्पेक्ट्स थे पश्तून आइडेंटिटी के, वो नहीं देखे जा रहे थे। बट द वे दैट दिस डिस्कोर्स वाज रिटन वाज इन टर्म्स ऑफ दिस इज हाउ ऑल पश्तून्स आर, राइट? देयर वाज नो विजिबिलिटी for other aspects of the Pashtun identity and reality, and definitely no visibility of women either, and the sort of agency that they had. No problem, Nasrullah Khan Wazir. I think your question was brilliant. अच्छा, मलिहा Kiani, the politics exclusiveness. Maliha, to answer your comment, I think this is a very incorrect way of looking at reality. I think जो intersectionality है ethnicity की, class की, religion की, caste की, वो intersectionality अगर आप appreciate ना करें और उसका analysis आप ना करें in how certain people are oppressed in this country, then I think आपका analysis बहुत limited होगा और वो बहुत flawed होगा. Because there are अगर class is a very big issue. I mean, as a socialist organization, because this is on WDF's page, we do talk about class as a very big issue, and I think that is what our politics is all about. But I think to not appreciate कि जब ethnicity एक ethnically oppressed group, और जब एक की collaboration की sorry, जब एक working class बंदा जो कि वर्किंग क्लास भी हो और बलोच भी हो, या वर्किंग क्लास हो और पश्तून भी हो, तो वो जो ऑपरेशन है वो एक डबल ऑपरेशन हो जाती है, वो एक ज्यादा इंटेंस ऑपरेशन हो जाती है, बिकॉज उसके अंदर दो ऑप्रेस्ड आइडेंटिटीज और दो ऑप्रेसिव स्ट्रक्चर्स आ जाते हैं, राइट? सो आई थिंक वी कांट जस्ट सिंपली से कि नहीं नहीं, लेट्स जस्ट लुक एट वन एंड नॉट लुक एट द अदर. I think that's like saying कि you should just look at ethnicity and you shouldn't look at class, right? I think intersectionality is very important in understanding how oppressive structures work. Apart from that, as far as पश्तून्स की जो बात है, मिसिंग पर्सनस की एंड मिलिट्री इस्टेब्लिशमेंट की, आई थिंक ये बात मैंने कर दी है कि पश्तून्स जो मिलिट्री के अंदर पश्तून्स हैं, दे आर कोलैबोरेटर्स विद द नेशनल बूर्जवाजी, बिकॉज दे बेनिफिट फ्रॉम द सिस्टम, दे बेनिफिट फ्रॉम द काइंड ऑफ क्या कहते हैं, social capital they have, the kind of economic benefits they get, the kind of privilege they have, the kind of corridors of power they can access, right? So there are Pashtuns in the military, and they do collaborate with other groups within the military, and that is something that Pashtuns do talk about. They talk about people. They there's a poem, there's a couplet in a poem that says ما خویل چې کا میدان تا با دشمن را درومی خدا خو خپلوان هرا غلی دی گرانا, right? So that basically means that I thought that only my enemies will come to the battlefield, but when I entered the battlefield, when I got to the battlefield, I saw that my own blood was also there, right? My companions, my friends were also there. So I think that beautifully summarizes this whole idea that your own people can also be collaborators in the oppressive structures that are unleashed on you, and not just in the military establishment, but also in political circles. There are many parties, Pashtun parties, that are now speaking up against atrocities against Pashtuns, but were very much quiet when these atrocities were happening, and only started speaking up when PTM came into existence. So it's wonderful that the PTM is calling them out. I don't yeah. So yeah, I think that both can't be both have to go hand in hand. Yeah, so basically what Minerva also said is the same thing. That yes, while PTM is, I mean, yeah, this is something that we need to realize. PTM is one of many political expressions of Pashtun, what do you call it? Political expressions of Pashtun resistance to the state. It is not the only expression to expression of Pashtun resistance to the state. There can be many other forms of resistance coming from within the community towards the state. That can be in terms of that can take any form of structure, that can follow any kind of program. So I think that needs to be understood as well, that there are many maybe that PTM does not represent, right? And for that they need to form their own kind of movement, their own kind of resistance, and find because I mean and have their own kind of niche. Definitely, Minerva. Murad Saeed is definitely a collaborator, and I did like have one of his statements written down, and I wasn't going to like say it, but I think I would love to now, because the fact that you mentioned it. Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen someone as aggressively shameless and aggressively loyal as well, wonderfully. As Murad Saeed, God bless people who have, cheerleaders like Murad Saeed on their side, because, what else do you need? But Murad Saeed, I mean, very recently, while, with his shrill little voice, said that, the state has three main pillars: the parliament, the armed forces, and the judiciary. Now, God knows what kind of democratic system Murad Saeed is looking at. Uh, लेकिन क्या कह सकते हैं मुराद सईद के बारे में? So yeah, I mean, he must be given like a lot of power, a lot of legitimacy, a lot of things, that matter to people who, drunk with privilege and drunk with power, become so comfortable with that kind of privilege that they shed, that they just forego or just don't care about, just being horrible human beings. I have no academic word for like describing Murad Saeed, but yes, I think he's one of the many who have collaborated with the dominant, to oppress the other. Govinda ठीक है बासित अली साहब. Govinda is a legend, but anyway, that's not the point here. um, Masood Masid. We're always on the move because of no set structures existing. I mean, we do have resources, we do have manpower, we do have ability, but that ability hasn't been given. It hasn't been channeled properly. We haven't been given, the working class hasn't been given any kind of power or autonomy over themselves, or they haven't been given any kind of autonomy, they haven't been given any kind of rights. जो resources हैं वो एक dominant elite के हाथ में है, उन सूबों के हाथ में है ही नहीं. There are no opportunities, there are no education, there's no education, right? I mean, for example, while Pashtuns are constantly being referred to as uneducated, जाहिल्स, इस तरह की लैंग्वेज यूज की जाती है, तो छल्ली वाला है, ये तो खान है, ये तो जी, इस तरह की, भाई तो कपड़े बेचता है, इस तरह की बातें होती हैं. लेकिन कोई ये नहीं पूछता कि एक गांव में आपका स्कूल जो है वो किधर है, और उस स्कूल को रीच करना, उस स्कूल तक पहुंचना कितना मुश्किल है या कितना नहीं है, या वहाँ पे इंडस्ट्री किस तरह की है, वहाँ पे किस तरह की अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ हैं. और जब आप वही अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ ढूंढने किसी और शहर जाते हो जहाँ पे आप एक ऑप्रेस्ड माइनॉरिटी हो, तो वहाँ पे भी आपको किस तरह की रेजिस्टेंस मिलती है फ्रॉम द डोमिनेंट elite to work or to exist or to just hone your skills and be your own person. So yeah, I think it's a very even more so now, I think it's a very difficult time to be a Pashtun in Pakistan. And especially for working class people, there exists a huge threat, not just to their livelihoods, but also to their lives, as we have seen. Mia Saqib Shah, our Pashtuns, should we rely and stick to our past? Acha, 5 minutes mein I'm going to end this because कोई गोविंदा की फिल्म्स का पूछ रहा है मुझसे, या कोई मुझे अफगानी होने के नाम पे गाली दे रहा है. uh, I'm actually shocked that this didn't come sooner, to be honest. Like, I'm amazed at how many positive people are on here, and are being respectful. Lekin, ji, bilkul main, anyway. I think no, the whole idea of this study circle was to say that we can't stick to our past, that we have been made to stick to our past and stuck in our past, और हमें आगे नहीं जाने दिया गया, कि हमारी एग्जिस्टेंस को, हमारे कल्चर को सीमेंट कर दिया गया, जिसकी वजह से हमारे लिए आगे निकलना बहुत मुश्किल है. तो या डेफिनेटली अ स्टेप फॉरवर्ड इज नीडेड. I'm just going to wait another 3 minutes. If there are any more questions, I'll be taking one last question. On I think on a concluding note, जो कि Georg और Minerva बात कर रहे थे, I think it's something that I'm going to sit and obviously think about as well. But I think कि एक PTM either needs to collaborate with working class people and talk about working class issues more in a clear manner. Um, because I feel like जो कि I do obviously agree कि जो basic उनकी survival है वो इस वक्त इतनी in question है कि maybe they haven't moved on to a point where they talk about working class struggles, right? But I do feel कि working class के साथ engage करना और उनकी demands आगे रखना would be a wonderful way to make the movement more sophisticated and also make it more holistic. If that can't be done, of course, like I said, कि you know working class एक अलग अपना वो कर सकती है, because I do feel कि the Pashtun working class has many unique issues, right? So for example, अभी किसी ने ऊपर बात की थी कि माइग्रेशन का मसला आ जाता है, राइट? कि दे हैव टू मूव टू अदर सिटीज़ एंड नॉट जस्ट सिटीज़, दे हैव टू मूव टू अदर कंट्रीज एंड लिटरली स्टे इन दोज कंट्रीज फॉर years एंड years. उनके बच्चे बड़े हो जाते हैं, उनको 2-2 3-3 साल वो देख नहीं पाते, सो व्हाट काइंड ऑफ क्या कहते हैं, like what does that come with, what does that mean for the working class? I think वो बात हो गई माइग्रेशन की. उसके अलावा जो बात हो गई वो सिक्योरिटी की बात हो गई, मोबिलिटी की बात हो गई, लैंग्वेज की बात हो गई. आई थिंक इन चीज़ों की ये जो वर्किंग क्लास स्ट्रगल्स हैं, वर्किंग क्लास की स्टीरियोटाइपिंग हो गई, जो ये स्ट्रगल्स हैं इनकी, सॉरी, एक्सेस टू एजुकेशन एंड एक्सेस टू यू नो even information about jobs, even access to like the job market even, right? So I think these are very unique issues, not very unique, but some are very unique issues. And I think if you tie that back to how there's a lack of opportunities in Pashtun dominated lands, right? I think there could possibly be a working class movement either within either a subsection of the PTM or completely separate from the PTM with their own demands. And I think that's very, very important in order to move forward with the whole agenda of who a Pashtun is and how they want to be, how they want to exist within the framework of Pakistan with their own set of demands, and with obviously making the holding the state accountable for the kind of oppressive capitalist structures that have been imposed on what was a very egalitarian society. तलहा रज़ाक, वर्किंग क्लास बिल्कुल उर्दू बोलती है, हमारी वर्किंग क्लास तो पश्तो बोलती है. मुझे ऑनेस्टली इस बात पे बहुत शर्मिंदगी है कि मेरी उर्दू इतनी अच्छी नहीं है, और इसलिए इस बात पे मैं खैर काम कर रही हूँ कि मैं अपनी उर्दू बेहतर करूँ. कुछ कॉमरेड्स से टिप्स एंड ट्रिक्स भी ले रही हूँ, एंड आई एम वर्किंग ऑन इट. पश्तो में मैं बिल्कुल बात कर सकती हूँ, लेकिन मुझे बस ये महसूस हो रहा था कि ये जो पश्तून्स का जो नैरेटिव है, ये अगर मैं बिकॉज पीटीएम भी जो बातें करता है, या जनरली जो नैरेटिव्स निकलते हैं फ्रॉम विद इन पश्तून्स, वो पश्तो के अंदर ही होते हैं, एंड अक्सर मिस ट्रांसलेट हो जाते हैं. अक्सर ये जो मतलब इस तरह की क्या कहते हैं, पावर प्लेयर्स होते हैं, मिस ट्रांसलेट करके मिस कोट कर देते हैं लोगों को. तो मुझे था कि मैं एक ऐसी लैंग्वेज में कर दूं जिसमें सबको कि एक पश्तून्स के अलावा लोगों को समझ आ जाए. तो मैंने इसलिए पश्तो में नहीं किया ये स्टडी सर्कल. इंशाल्लाह कोशिश में दाई जबल वूर तो पश्तू से काम दा चखपल चेमिजे की मुखाल तीर दे पूरा हड्डी राजियो ता दार ज़रूरी दू चार दे हाँ पखपला जबा से दाटुले खबर उर्वी. I basically said it's very important for them to be also like see, I can't translate back and forth. Anyway, but yeah, अभी मैंने अंग्रेजी में की है. इंशाल्लाह उम्मीद है कि एक वक्त आएगा जब मैं ये सारा स्टडी सर्कल उर्दू में कर सकूंगी और अच्छे तरीके से. Okay, guys. I'm going to sign off now. It's क्या कहते हैं, 5 बज गए हैं और मैंने काफ़ी बोल लिया है, मेरा गला भी काफ़ी ख़राब था, तो अभी थोड़ा थोड़ा गले में मेरे दर्द भी होना शुरू हो गई है। तो लेकिन ज़्यादा ये बात है कि मैं काफ़ी देर तक बोलती रही हूँ और 2 घंटे का इसका टाइम होता है। इसके अलावा इस पेज के ऊपर मैं कुछ रिकमेंडेड रीडिंग ज़रूर पोस्ट कर दूँगी। कुछ बहुत ज़बरदस्त रीडिंग्स हैं जो कि मैंने लिस्ट पे नहीं डाली, बिकॉज़ मुझे ये भी शक है कि आप लोगों को जो 2 मैंने रीडिंग्स पढ़ने को कहा भी था, वो भी शायद आपने ना पढ़ी हों। लेकिन इंशाल्लाह आगे आप ज़रूर प्लीज़, जो 2 रीडिंग्स हैं वो बहुत ज़बरदस्त हैं। आई हाइली रिकमेंड देम, वो पढ़ लें और बाकी भी मैं लिस्ट के ऊपर ऐड कर दूँगी, ताकि अगर किसी ने और इस बारे में दे वुड लाइक टू find out about these things or read up more about these things, तो obviously they can feel free to do that. अगर आप लोग मुझे कोई educate करना चाहते हैं या सिखाना चाहते हैं, I'm always open to learning and finding out about new things, because obviously I'm also a young, I wouldn't even call myself a researcher, but chale, I am a young researcher and very open to new ideas and knowledge and information. So yeah, बस अपना ख्याल रखिएगा। थैंक यू सो मच फॉर ट्यूनिंग इन। हमारा अगला लेक्चर सीरीज, लेक्चर नंबर 3 जो है वो मिनर्वा का होगा, एंड आई थिंक होपफुली वो सैटरडे को एक कर रही हैं और एक संडे को कर रही हैं कोरोना वायरस के ऊपर, एंड एक उर्दू में होगा, एक इंग्लिश में होगा। उनकी उर्दू बहुत ज़बरदस्त है, तो क्या कहते हैं, उनकी उर्दू बहुत ज़बरदस्त है, एंड होपफुली समडे आई कैन स्पीक द सेम काइंड ऑफ उर्दू एज हर एंड ऑब्वियसली address you in a language that's easily accessible and is obviously yeah, easily understandable. So yeah, khuda hafiz, khudai paman, goodbye.